But let me tell you the part of this show that irritated me the most, as bad as all of that was just the way they depicted the moon after the impact. The moon was sort of cracked open.
Right.
And stayed that way. But also there was moon debris like hovering above the surface of the moon.
Right.
Just like floating there.
Right.
Because I guess they were thinking it's in space, so it's weightless.
Oh, my God. Just floating? It wasn't in orbit?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Now that the moon has twice the mass of the Earth, that stuff would fall twice, not twice as fast, but significantly faster than stuff would fall on the Earth.
Right. I mean, even if it were just the moon mass, it would still... Gravity would pull it all back together again.
And it was just floating there?
Just floating above the surface of the moon.
It would either fall back to the moon or be ejected into space, and it would billow away. And come to think of it, now that you say that, I'd forgotten about this. I was going to do a review of this, but it just wasn't worth it. In fact, as the moon gets closer to the Earth, it would not always show the same face to us. It shows the same face because the way it spins on its own axis and the way it goes around the Earth are locked. So it spins on its own axis once per month, and it goes around the Earth once per month. But as it gets closer, it's still going to be spinning once a month, but in fact it's going to be going around the Earth faster than that. So it won't always show the same face, and they always depicted it that way. And in fact, if the collision were even a little bit off-center, if this thing didn't just slam straight down to the center of the moon, but came in at an angle, it would actually spin up the moon or slow the moon's spin.
Right.
And one would assume there's some angular momentum here. Just like, again, if you take the cue ball at a pool table and hit another ball, you can make the other ball spin faster. So, the moon would just be spinning around like a top, and they ignored that. Now, look, that's at a level of anal retention that even I don't have, that I wouldn't put that in. But it would be cool to have seen it. And the point I make over and over again is that scientists will know this stuff. And it's not that you're writing a script so that the scientists will know it. The thing is, a script writer doesn't know it. And so what they need to do is talk to a scientist and say, listen, I want to do this. I want to smack an object into the moon. What do I do to make this work? And then the scientist can say, well, this is what's going to happen. And there might be an idea in there that's cool, that the writer will not have thought of. And it's not like, I don't care if the moon is spinning or not, but that might make a cooler graphic. That might be more interesting than just showing the face of the moon the way they did.
They consulted a scientist. They contacted Richard Hoagland to get his opinion
or Neil Adams,
on what would happen.
I just had a cool idea. It would be great if somebody actually made a computer graphic video based on this show, showing us what would happen, giving these various scenarios that we're talking about. That would be interesting to see. All right, see this stupid movie, it got it all wrong. This is what would really happen, and then just show us graphically how.
You might have a hard time
really
getting
happen.
a grant from the NSF to do that, though.
Yeah, too bad.
Yeah, the thing is, good science makes the story better. And this script desperately needed some scientists to tell them, what day it is, because it was. I actually thought it was a pretty horribly written drama. Forget about the science.
It was boring.
Yeah, I think it was really it was bad. So I think the writers here were not very imaginative. They probably were too arrogant to think that they needed scientists, consultants, or that it didn't matter. And the result was a pretty lazy script, I thought.
Can you imagine people around the water cooler talking about that the next day? Did you see that show, Impact? Yeah, look what will happen if this happens. Wow.
Well, that's what happened with the Fox Moon Hoax documentary, quote-unquote documentary, back in 2001. It got so much buzz at the water cooler that they ran it again a month later and got a bigger audience. Oh. And there are a lot of us who think that that movies and TV shows actually have an obligation to get the science right, especially when they're talking about medicine, because they're just out there spreading misinformation, and people remember that stuff. They really do. Surveys have been done to show that, after people watch an episode of ER or something like that, they retain some of the information that was dispensed on that show. So they're really, in my opinion, they're obligated to get it right.
Yeah, and they don't know where it came from either. They go, well, isn't there something about, this? They just remember the factoid without necessarily remembering its source, that it was on a drama. And it becomes part of the public consciousness,